Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in the previous video, we discussed the Swift UI layout in a bit more detail. In this video, we're actually going to tackle building our UI for the first time. And we're actually going to basically see how to bring all the components that we showed in the previous breakdown and put them all together. So let's jump into the code and let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove, obviously, this text in this button because it's not part of our design. And we're just going to delete this and we're just going to basically start. So I'll add a picture for reference in this video so you can see it, just so you can see what we're aiming for. So as you can see, there's a badge, there's some information about the team and the button on the right hand side. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to basically have our VStack to hold all our components together. But what I want to do is I want to specify the alignment. So I just want to make sure, for sanity's sake, that the alignment, everything is leading. So what does that mean? So what that basically means is that everything in this container will position itself to the left hand side. So what we're basically going to do now is we're just going to add in ourselves a H stack. So let's just add that in. And for the alignment of the H stack, we're going to say that we want this alignment to be on the top. And then we want to add some spacing of 12 points. Okay, cool. So again, with the alignment here, we're just specifying that we want everything inside of this component to be aligned to the top. And then in here, we basically want to start adding in a few components. So we're just going to add some components in first, some views, and then we'll do the modifiers later. So for now, the first we want to add in is the image. So let's do that now. So if I just do image, and then using the property team, this is where we're going to get the badge and put the badge inside the image. So we're just going to say team.badge, team.id, sorry, .badge. And then you can see that renders an image onto the screen. And then the next thing that we need to add is we need to add our information with all the text, which is a VStack. So we're just going to do VStack. And then we want the alignment for this to be leading. And then we want the spacing between each element to be 5. And then in here, we're going to add some text. So let's do that now. So we're going to say, we're just going to do some text. So the first thing we're going to add the text for is the team name. And you can see here how it's starting to render that out now. So the team name at the top here to the image. So they're all both aligned. And then the next thing we're going to add is the founded. So text. Team.founded. And then we're just going to say here, like that. So founded, get the founded here. Next thing we need to do is the manager. So for the manager, I'm just going to leave this as a string. We'll actually come back to this in another video where we'll discuss how we're going to handle this. And then in the next one, we're going to display the team's information. Okay, cool. So you're probably looking at this, and if it's your first time seeing this, wondering what this means. So basically all this is string interpolation. So what it allows us to do is it allows us to manipulate a string. So by using the / here and then the parentheses, we basically get to specify what we want to put inside of this string. So just imagine you're basically just like injecting something inside of the string here, which is why you can see 1800 before the text founded. So that's the text sorted out. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to leave the spacer out for now, just so I can just show you why we add that in. And then the next thing we're gonna add in is our button in, and then we'll worry about our spacer in a minute. So for our button, we're just gonna add that in like so. And we're gonna use the action and label option. We're gonna leave the action with the closure parentheses. And then in the text, we're gonna replace this with an image. So for the image, we're going to actually use something called an SF symbol, and I'll discuss that in a minute, but let's just fill this out. So the option you want to use is the system name one. If you just type in sys, or alternatively, if you just open the parentheses and then just scroll down a bit, you'll see system name. And then the system name we want to use for now is simply just play.circle.fill. And as you can see, there's our play button. So what is an SF symbol? So basically, starting from iOS, Apple introduced something called SF symbols, and all they basically are fonts that are basically scalable. So think of it as a vector asset that you can change the weight, the size, and it scales perfectly on all devices. So there's a whole range of SF symbols, and if we just look at this now, on the Apple website, or if you just Google it, you can download this app called SF Symbols, and you literally have all these symbols that you can possibly use in your app. And then all you have to do, if you want to use one, so let's say for example the play one, if you just type in play here, we can just literally click on it, right click, copy name, and then in the parameter where it says system name, just paste it in there and we get the system SF symbols. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. But I don't know if you guys have realized an issue that we have here. So an issue that we have here is that this is actually not filling the entire screen. And the reason why that is because SwiftUI is just rendering the view with the height of the content within it in the center. So what we want to do is you actually want to make this fill the entire screen. So in order to do that, to fill up the remaining space, you have a component or a view in SwiftUI called spacer. So let's use that now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to type in here, spacer, and then just do this. And then as you can see now, it fills up the entire screen. And just to make it clearer, on our VStack, we're going to give it a background color. So hit enter and then just do background. And then we'll just give it a background color of the team. So we're going to say team dot id dot background, and now we get the background color of the team. But obviously this doesn't really look very nice with the black, and this looks pretty horrible as well. So in order to fix that, what we're actually going to do is we're basically going to give it a foreground color, and we're going to add some padding around it so that the content can breathe. So what we're going to do here is we're going to specify a padding of 8. So padding and then 8. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to give it a foreground color of white. So now you can see all the content in here is now white. And then finally, if you actually look at our design, you'll see that the corner radius is actually not 0. It's actually got like a little curve to it. So we're going to give this a corner radius as well. So I'm just going to specify a corner radius of 10. And if you just zoom in, so if you hit the little magnifying glass, you'll see now that we have a corner radius there. Cool. So if we just go back to our finished app and we just look at it, so if you look at it on the screen, you'll see that we have different font sizes for each one of the information in the VStack. So on our text object now, let's apply some modifiers and let's give them the correct font sizes. So for team name, what we'll do, so the first text view, we'll type in .font. And then what we'll do is we'll actually use the system. So we'll say .system. And then we'll basically specify the size and the weight. So if we just choose the size and weight one. So the size for this that we want is 18, and then we want the weight to be bold. And for design, we actually want to take this off because we don't need it. Cool. Then what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste this line here. So we'll paste it underneath there like so. And then we're going to change the weight and size of this. So the size of this is going to be 12. And then the weight of this is going to be light. And then we're just going to repeat this again. So the size of this again is going to be 10. And then the weight is going to be light. And then finally, for the information, we're going to basically just copy that underneath there again. And then we're going to change the size of this to 12. And then we're going to change the weight of this to medium. All right. So now the text is looking good to me. So the next thing we need to do is we need to add some modifiers onto our image, because the image needs to be a fixed width and height. And we want it to basically make sure that it scales all right as well. So if we go into our image, let's apply the modifier to basically make our image 50 by 50 and make sure that it scales to fit properly. So for image, the first thing we want to add is resizable, so we can scale it properly. And as you can see, now we basically specified that the whole view is resizable, and that's why it's gone a bit crazy. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to basically say that we want this image to be scaled to fit. And now you can see that the image is now fitting the content of the original image size. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to specify our own height and width. So we just go to frame and then choose the option with width and height. And then in here, we want to specify the width to be 50, the height to be 50, and then the alignment, we just want to remove that because we don't actually need it. So this is starting to look good. Then finally, we need to apply our styles onto our button, because in our design, our button is actually, the image is bigger than this, and it's also not at the top, it's in the center. So let's do that now. So the first thing we need to do is on the image, we want to basically again say resizable, and then it's going to go crazy. And then what we're going to do is scale to fit. So the reason why we say scale to fit in this case is because we want this image to fit the size that we give to our container being button. So on the button, we're going to specify a height and width for this. So for this, we're basically going to say we want the frame to be the option with the min width, ideal width, max width, and all these other parameters, which I'll let you say. So we're going to take a few of these parameters. So what we're actually going to do is we're just going to type some of them out. So we're just going to type in frame, and then the first parameter that we're going to type out is max width. So we want the max width of this to be 40, and then we want the max height. And then we want the alignment to be center. So now we get this where the image is in the center and it fills up the whole container because of infinity. But obviously when we put that inside of a list, what that will do is it'll actually only show the size based relevant on the content within it. So that's all our modifiers. So right now, obviously this doesn't look the best because it's not actually what it would look like in a list. So what we're going to do just for now, so we can just preview it to see what it looks like in a list, is we're just going to click on our VStack. So we just hold down Command and then click on VStack, and you'll see an option called Embed in List. So we just select that option, and then you'll see that we now basically get an example of what this would look like in a list. All right, okay, cool. So that's looking pretty good now. So I guess what we'll do is we'll actually run this up and we'll actually see what the UI is actually doing in terms of how the modifiers are being applied onto the screen. So let's just, if it's already running, just hit stop, and then let's just hit the play button. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to de-expand Xcode and then just put these side by side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the UI debugger here. So this little icon here. And you'll see that you'll get a UI representation of your view. So if you come from UI kit background, this is going to be a bit different to you. So normally, if you came from UI kit background, you'd have a list of like UI image, UI button, and all the components. This is different. Instead, you literally just have views. So you can see here, just views. So it's just literally the Swift views, and you can see how all the views are being laid out. So if we just click on this one here, this vertical stack, so V stack, you'll see here's all the components being vertically laid out within the V stack. So you can basically use this tool to look at your UI and inspect it to make sure that everything's good and it's all acting the way it should be. Alright guys, so that was everything for today's video. So in the next video, we're going to take this a bit one step further, and we're actually going to look at how we can use something called a view modifier to reuse and also like clean up our views as well and reuse some component styles. So that's everything for today's video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Deuces.